Mark, I want to look back at the World Cup qualifiers because that was obviously something really special. And I'm wondering at what point you started to realize this team had something special.
I always knew the team had something special before we even got into World Cup qualifying, but I think the game when we went to Nashville and really, we dominated that game against the US, and we're pretty happy with the fact that we were able to come out of that game with some points. I think that was kind of a turning point for us to realize, like, hey, like, the US is a team that goes to the World Cup almost every year, obviously not in 2018, but we felt like after that game, like, hey guys, like, we've just had a really good Gold Cup. We've just gone to a hostile environment in Nashville and showed that we could become the best team in CONCACAF. And I think at that point, for myself, I was like, okay, wow, like, this is going to be an amazing journey. And then the next one would be the game in Azteca. Obviously, there's a lot of history in that stadium, and just the way we went into that game, fearless, and really tried to impose our way on that Mexican national team. After that game, I was like, yeah, like, I already knew we were going to get there, but at this point, I was like, it feels good. It's going to come really, really soon.
When did you start to feel the love from the country? Because I think a lot of people forget that in the beginning of those World Cup qualifiers, your home matches were actually in the States. So before you could actually play on Canadian soil, which I want to say maybe for the first time was like in September. Like, it was crazy how your home field wasn't actually in Canada. So when did you start to feel the love from your country?
We always kind of felt the love, but I think that game in Hamilton, seeing the turnout, not knowing how Hamilton would embrace the national team. I've never played a game over there. And just seeing the turnout, was freezing cold, and the flares as we were coming through with the bus, I was like, wow, like, Canada is turning into a football country. So that was definitely a turning point for me in terms of seeing the country get behind us. Obviously, they were always behind us in the qualifying, but just seeing that, just the turnout was amazing. It was freezing that day, freezing, and that was a big show for me. Being from Ontario and seeing the support, and then obviously you have to talk about the Edmonton game where, I've never known Edmonton to be a soccer city, but to pack the stadium with like 50,000+ people was also an amazing experience. So yeah, Canada is becoming a real footballing country. It's nice.
You created the Azteca in Edmonton. That was it was a phenomenal experience. Having been there myself, I can attest to that just being absolutely surreal. But along the way too, there were individual records set, there were team records set. How about the 11-0 win over Cayman Islands, where you pick up a brace as well? What was it like to play in a game like that?
Yeah, it was. Those games are pretty difficult because mentally you need to make sure you're on top of everything. Cayman Islands, they posed a different test for us. They're not a top team in the CONCACAF, but we had set an internal goal with ourselves to score a certain amount, to dominate the game in a certain way. And John has a very good ability to motivate guys to run through walls, and that was kind of a game where it was like, it's almost like a trap game because you already know you can win this game, but if you take your foot off the pedal, you could be penalized quickly. So for us to hit the mark, we wanted to score 11 goals, and to get it done in the fashion we did, it was a huge accomplishment at the time for us, but a small part of our journey, obviously, getting to the World Cup.
Speaking of John Herdman as being a motivator, before World Cup qualifiers had a mock-up front page saying that you guys qualified for the World Cup. When you first saw that, how did it make you feel?
Chills, because the news, obviously the newspaper reports the news, and I've never seen a front page of a newspaper talking about the future, and to see a picture of us and the article underneath it and the title of the article that Canada has qualified, it was an amazing thing, and it just reminded us that, John really believes in us, and the only next thing to do is to believe in ourselves. And I keep that newspaper on my dresser in my bedroom back in Denver, but it was an awesome gift, and we definitely wanted to make that come true, and we did.
His was a mock-up gift. You gave him the real gift then by qualifying, and then it was on every paper.
Exactly. So I don't know if he can read the future or whatever, but he definitely knew how to light us going forward, and it really helped.
I love hearing these types of things, like whatever it takes to motivate a team. For the longest time, we kept hearing about the lucky Looney, at the Olympics and everything when it comes to hockey. And then we hear about this sword as well that the Canadians had. And John also said, like, this was about dominating someone else's turf and calling it New Canada. Did he also come up with that idea?
Yeah, he did. Well, I don't know where he gets his inspirations from. Obviously,
Game of Thrones, clearly.
Yeah, maybe Game of Thrones. Game of Thrones is awesome. But he has a great staff behind him, and whenever they think very hard on how they're going to present things to us. And, people talk about the sword, but at first he presented a shield, in terms of protecting our country. Canadians have always been so prideful, and the way we play is there was always that rigorous defense, right? So that was our shield. Then he brought in the helmet, and the helmet was to tell us that there's a lot of external distractions going on. People are going to say certain things, but once we put on this helmet with our team, like, we're focused on the goal of getting to the World Cup. We're focused on qualifying first, the first team to qualify, and finish obviously first in the octagon. And then he brought in the sword, and the sword was like, we're going to do all these other things, but go into other people's countries, home turfs, advantages, and all those things, and show them that we can dominate and that we can be on the attack and we can be the protagonist. So they plan everything out, man. It's really amazing. Like, someone should do a story to cover how much work they've put in to present these things to us. But yeah, the sword is it's amazing, and it's on the back of our black jersey. So it's a nice feeling.
What do they say? It's 10% skill, it's 90% mental, right?
Yes,
so
yes.
He's definitely mastered that for you.
100%.
I love the attacking mentality too, because that's truly the identity. You're not afraid to push forward, even taking on opposition that they themselves are very strong on the counter. It doesn't matter. You guys have that high press. You'll go after them. What is it that you're hoping to accomplish on the biggest stage?
Yeah, what I'm hoping to accomplish on the biggest stage with the team is obviously to play our type of football against the best teams in the world. We want to go into the World Cup and really show the world that Canada is a footballing country, and we're not scared to play good football. We have quality on the field. We have dynamic attacking players who can create lots of opportunities, but we're also a very tight-knit group that will make it very difficult for any team to score against us. So we really have the whole package, and we just want to go in there and do our best. And we really believe that we can turn a lot of heads in this World Cup. And for ourselves, we don't want to just participate. We want to go in there and really try to win.